Well, severe road infrastructure damage that has also affected bridges has been reported by the Johannesburg Roads Agency. Torrential rains have had a significant impact in a number of places. It's complete chaos across many parts of Lenasia as communities reel in the aftermath of the devastating floods after a night of heavy downpours and thunderstorms. Well, joining us now for more is Imdaad Foundation trustee Qari Ziyaad Patel. Qari, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us this morning. I mean, looking at the scene right behind you, streets completely flooded. It does appear that some homes even submerged underwater. What can you tell us about the latest?
Over the last few hours, I think the Gauteng province has experienced excessive rain leading to these devastating flash floods. Unfortunately, the norm in Gauteng today is the scenes, as you can see behind me, scenes of devastation, people's homes underwater. But the good news is that in many parts of the province, the water levels are starting to recede. Yesterday, there were many logistical challenges in helping and assisting people, trickling much needed relief aid. But today, I'm sure it's a brighter day. And of course, yes, the routes have been opened. So it'll be much more easier for us to get relief aid to these communities. It's sad to see that so many different communities across the broad spectrum, impoverished areas, affluent areas, have all been affected by the devastating rains which battered the province over the last few hours.
Yeah, look, that's definitely some good news, the fact that the water levels are starting to recede and making way for that much-needed help. You know, Qari, we heard from the National Sea Rescue Institute. They're calling for more foot soldiers to come on board and assist. Is that what you need right now? More foot soldiers, more hands on the ground assisting those that have been affected by the floods?
Undoubtedly, many hands make light work. And really speaking, we as humanitarians, we need more hands on the ground. The reason for this is that so many communities across the spectrum, across the large area of Gauteng have been affected. As far as the northern part of Gauteng, the southern part of Gauteng, it's not only concentrated to Region G, which is Lenasia South, Lenasia, Soweto, Dobsonville. Many other areas have also been affected. Yesterday, it was very difficult for us to conduct a comprehensive assessment because it was already nightfall. Since this morning, our teams have been conducting an in-depth assessment, and all we can say is that many communities across the spectrum of Gauteng have been affected. And yes, we will make this appeal out there. We need resources, we need manpower, we need expertise, and coming together, we can help one another in our times of need. And this is what we owe one another as South African citizens, as South African bondship.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, talking about resources, we know as we experienced with the April floods in KZN, Qari, that sometimes the most pressing needs for people affected by floods aren't always so apparent. You know, a lot of the times it becomes an issue of having access to clean drinking water, for instance. So what are some of the sort of issues that are coming up over and over again that residents are saying we absolutely are in desperate need of at this time?
Right now, it's all about emergency relief aid, and that's the reason why Imdaad Foundations teams are on the ground here. We are leading an entire humanitarian strategy to help and assist these people. So there have been shelters which have been put up in certain parts of the entire province. Some have been in civic centers, some have been in community-based centers, etc. And in these centers, we need clean water, we need hot meals, we need mattresses, we need hygiene packs, we need linen, and so many other things. In fact, one of the needs right now is even baby powder, powder for infants. So there is a requirement, there is a request, there is a need for comprehensive, holistic relief aid. And this is the appeal as the Imdaad Foundation, which we are making out to you. The good news is that people from the KZN province have reached out to us because they haven't forgotten when they had the devastating floods in April, Gauteng lent that humanitarian hand. And this time around, they are reciprocating and they have offered their assistance in kind and in expertise and human resources. So this is a very good news to know that South Africans are coming together and we are helping one another, especially when we have these kind of disasters, which we see playing out right now in Gauteng.
Yeah, no, definitely. Those are the kinds of stories that we absolutely need to hear, Qari. The issue of expediency, I want to talk to that a little bit. How much of a difference does it make when you get an urgent and expedient response from government in cases like this? You know, you've talked about the sort of relief aid that is desperately needed, but it's needed and it's needed now. And so urgency is a huge factor here. Are you receiving that urgent response from government whose, responsibility extends to these residents?
I think we've got to congratulate and commend National Disaster Management. They've come to the fore, they have offered assistance, and they are playing a pivotal role in helping to coordinate and manage this disaster. You know, we don't want helicopter operations where organizations come in, blow some dust, make some noise and leave. We need to have a coordinated humanitarian effort. It must be managed properly. And of course, thumbs up, there was a job which was put into place immediately by the National Disaster Management Center, and they are trying their level best to coordinate this in a very professional way. And we as humanitarian organizations, we are supporting this initiative. Let there be one body to take the lead and to let everyone else follow. Otherwise, some areas may receive aid and some may not receive aid at all. So we've got to work together in a very professional way, in a coordinated manner to make the best of this situation.
Indeed. I can't help but think of, the flood victims of Easter Fabriek informal settlement in Mamelodi, in Tshwane. I mean, that disaster taking place several years ago, 2019, many of those residents still haven't been relocated to this day. Are there any concerns, Qari, that once the rains subside and, the newsreel moves on to another hot and topic issue, that these flooded areas are going to be forgotten?
That is the sentiments on the ground. Speaking to residents in the different areas, speaking to residents that have been located in the civic centers, just to understand their sentiments, and this is what they're saying to us. Fair enough, government is playing that role in helping to coordinate emergency relief efforts. But what about medium to long-term needs? What about clean-up operations? What about helping those individuals move up to a bit more safer zones and safer areas? Remember, there are many informal structures which are located very close to the banks of rivers. And this has been an ongoing problem in South Africa and across the province and other provinces as well. And unfortunately, government could not man up to even mitigate the situation by moving these residents from these informal homes and shelters to higher areas, so that when the rainy seasons come, there are not any more deaths and people that have been and victims. So this is the sentiment. People are somewhat really doubting whether the government will man up and do something credible with regards to medium to long-term needs of the victims that have been affected, and those areas that have been consistently and continuously affected every rainy season and every summer.
Yeah. Well, Qari, for those of our viewers who are watching and want to get involved and want to lend a hand, how can they do that?
You're more than welcome to connect with the Imdaad Foundation. Our teams are on the ground. We've actually brought in teams from different parts of the country. We are on the ground. We are helping. We are assisting. We are facilitating and trickling much needed aid to different parts of the province. Our teams have actually inundated and been exhausted as we worked throughout the entire night. So make contact with the Imdaad Foundation, www.alimdaad.com or 0861 786 You're more than welcome to connect to us on our social media platforms in whichever way, whether you would like to assist by donating in cash or kind, or even your help, or lending us your time and your expertise, or your humanitarian heart, coming together, supporting one another morally, physically, emotionally, in whichever way. Any type of assistance right now will be welcomed by the Imdaad Foundation and by those individuals and communities that have been affected. And as you can see, it's going to take some time for the waters to recede, but this is where we are right now. Water levels are still very high in some of the areas, and these communities and these residents still need us to bring them supplies to help them through the next few days.
Well, Qari, thank you so much for coming onto our program and, of course, sharing your experiences with us. That is a story that we will continue to monitor. Of course, that was our Imdaad Foundation trustee, Qari Ziyaad Patel, helping us to unpack there the devastation that you just saw for yourself in the southern parts of Johannesburg, residents affected by the flooding that we've been seeing, and also knowing that there's a warning of more inclement weather expected today.